Upon taking office, I will impose an across-the-board tariff on foreign-made goods. I will also pass the Trump Reciprocal Trade Act.
Howdy, my fellow Americans. This is T-Pain USA, and welcome to another episode of a Really American T-Cast. Now, unless you folks have been hiding under a rock, and given the current political situation, T-Pain's mighty tempted just to crawl in there with you, you've been noticing that Donald Trump is talking an awful lot these days about tariffs. And as a matter of fact, Donald Trump finds so much comfort in these tariffs, they become his very own political service animal. Check out a few of these clips.
Car manufacturing plants that you're building in Mexico right now, and you think you're going to get that, you're going to not hire Americans, and you're going to sell the cars to us. No, we're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line. We're going to put a 100% tariff on every single car that comes across the line, and you're not going to be able to sell those cars if I get elected. Now, if I don't get elected, it's going to be a bloodbath.
Now, if any of you folks have ever seen T-Pain's videos, you know I'm a fellow that believes the best way to understand anything is to distill it down to its essence. So what is a tariff anyway? A tariff is a tax. It's a tax that a government imposes on imported or exported goods and services. So the tariff is a tax? Well, ain't it funny that the party who's always whining about paying too much tax is suddenly and strangely aroused by paying more taxes? So tell you what, T-Pain is going to explain to you how tariffs work using an everyday, ordinary object like this fly swatter here. Now, T-Pain bought this fly swatter the other day down at Walmart's for 94 cents, and it works pretty good. But the problem is, like so many things at Walmart, this is made in China. Now, imagine for a minute, you got this other fly swatter made here in the good old USA. The problem is, it costs $2. So what Trump wants to do is to take the Chinese one, add a $1 tariff to it, so that both products cost $2. That way they can compete fairly and evenly in the American marketplace. Now that sounds like a pretty good deal, don't it? That sounds pretty reasonable. But you see, there's a problem. Thanks to all them big market retailers like Walmart and Target and such, nobody makes fly swatters here in America anymore. So when Trump's tariffs takes effect, this here 94-cent fly swatter will suddenly jump up to $2. That's $1 out of your pocket, folks. The importer pays that $1 tariff to the United States government and then passes that cost on to you, the American consumer. Are you still excited about tariffs as you was a minute ago? Since more men support Trump than women, folks, probably due to the fact that women are more sensible and less allured by toxic masculinity-fueled foolishness, T-Pain's going to show you men three real-world examples of how Trump's tariffs will affect your everyday lives. So strap in, fellas. This is going to get a mite bumpy. T-Pain's pretty confident that he can say with a certainty that there are 4 things that men love: sex, trucks, guitars, and beer. Thankfully, even Trump ain't figured out a way to make tariffs work for sex yet. So let's just focus on the trucks, guitars, and beer, shall we? Our first example is a Toyota Tacoma pickup truck. And you got to admit, that is one fine machine, fellas. And if you've been lusting after one, T-Pain's right there with you. It's stylish, it's rugged, and it's shiny. Now, currently, the MSRP on a lightly loaded one is around $34,000. And you've been saving your money for a year, and you've got almost enough for a down payment. And if you skimp on groceries and school books for the kids, you can manage to afford 72 easy payments of $784. Now imagine you're just about to pull the trigger on a new 2025 model, then bam! Trump gets elected and slaps a 100% tariff on that rascal, driving the price up to over $60,000. And suddenly, your fossil fuel wet dream slips through your fingers. But hey, you're nothing if not resilient, and you set your sights then on a shiny new Chevy Silverado. After all, it's made right here, mostly in the United States, And even if it costs a little bit more, it won't be affected by Trump's tariffs, right? Right? Think again. This ain't like our fly swatter example. This truck is made out of a lot of foreign-made components that will be affected by Trump's tariff mania. And this $43,000 truck will suddenly cost $60,000 or more, forcing you to sell one of your kidneys on the black market just to get one. But hey, look on the bright side. You only need one kidney. What fella ain't been tempted to take up guitar at some time in his life? And you're no different. You fantasized about playing on stage at this summer's Mule Jump or the Mullet Festival with the wind in your hair and having to beat them groupies off with a big old stick. And T-Pain's right there with you, fellas. T's been known to pick and grin a little bit himself. To play on stage, you need a sweet, sweet amplifier. So you find yourself driving by music stores that ain't on the way home just to lust after the most popular all-tube amplifier in music history. The Fender Deluxe Reverb. Now, you've heard this amp on tens of thousands of classic recordings over the years, and your budding music career deserves, no, demands, you must have one. Due to their popularity, Fender already asked a pretty penny for one, $1,699 US. But there's a fly in the ointment. Fly, like fly swatter? Okay. Well, you see, this little beauty here is mass-produced in Mexico. And Trump just slapped a 100% tariff on it, driving the price up to $3,400. But your talent will not be denied, and this world will be a sadder place if your financial situation is preventing you from shredding all them tasty riffs into the musical universe. So you decide to pony up and buy the highest quality, hand-wired, custom shop, Fender Deluxe, crafted in the liberal la-la land of California for the bargain basement price of only $3,200. But wait, there's a catch. Even though this amp is handmade, its output transformers, vacuum tubes, and speakers are all made abroad, and Trump's tariffs have added another $1,000 to the price. Sure, you're broke, you're hungry, you're living in your car, but you got a badass amp. You remember the good old days when beer was a topic all men could agree on? Well, Trump's changed that in more ways than one. Now imagine it's 5 o'clock on a Friday, and you're headed home for a much-deserved weekend of football and chicken wings and more football. You know what would make this a perfect man experience? A 12-pack of ice-cold Coronas. After all, you work hard and you deserve nice things, don't you? So you stop off down there at Walmart's and picks up some Corona Extra Long Necks for just $15.98. Well, now that would be true if Kamala Harris gets elected. But if Trump manages to pull off a victory, the first thing he says he's going to do is slap a 100% tariff on Mexican goods, probably to get back at him for not paying for that wall and stuff. So you better be prepared to plop down almost $32 for what used to cost you just $16. Now paying for trucks double was bad enough. Paying more than double for guitar amplifiers was even worse. But $32 for a 12-pack of Mexican beer? This aggression will not stand, you declare, as you pick up a 12-pack of Budweiser. Then suddenly, you get a bad taste in your mouth because you remember Trump told you that Budweiser is either too woke or too gay. Okay, let's pretend for just a minute that you believe paying double for stuff is just a small price to pay to restore America's standing in the world. So, just exactly where does all this extra money you're spending go to? You're going to love this part.
Why don't we have a wealth fund? Other countries have wealth funds. We have nothing. We have nothing. We're going to have a sovereign wealth fund, or we can name it something different. I'll talk about it with Mr. Paulson, who's in the audience, and a lot of other friends of mine. And we'll name it something that's appropriate. Perhaps sovereign wealth fund wouldn't be appropriate, but it's going to be the same thing. We'll put tremendous amounts of money through all this money that will be taken in through tariffs and other intelligent things.
So all this money will go into a sovereign wealth fund? Well, if that sounds uncomfortably Marxist, there's a good reason for that. So let's see. There's this massive wealth fund controlled by the U.S. government, and Trump is president. Now, given that the Supreme Court just bestowed on him king-like powers and that he's immune from prosecution for official acts, Trump's first official act as president will probably be to declare this fund be used to pay him back for all the inconvenience and ridicule he suffered due to all those crimes he committed during his first term. Not to mention payback for all the mean things folks said about him on Twitter. So if you believe you'll ever see a dime of that tariff money, that means voting for Trump was probably just another in a long series of poor life decisions. T-Pain hopes this little demonstration about tariffs helps you see a little clearer about how they work and how they'll affect you in your own personal life. And don't forget, two can play this game. There ain't nothing to keep our trade partners from doing the same thing to us. And there's an old saying, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. So you may think you're paying out the nose right now, but you elect Trump, and you'll be paying out the other end. T-Pain out.